Hey, how's it going? Sergeant Rieger, Phillipsburg Emergency Squad. For those of you that don't know, we filmed some interviews with some of our staff this past weekend for our documentary series that Costa Studios is working on, Costa Studios is working on. Very grateful for everything he's done for us. He's putting in a lot of hard work, a lot of hours, so thank you again. We appreciate it. So, during these interviews, my wife volunteered to kind of give a spouse perspective on being involved in the emergency services. After she filmed her interview, I was asked by our videographer, Brandon, to review the footage of her interview and do it on camera. So I have not watched this interview yet. This is the first time I'm seeing anything of it. So this is going to be a completely blind reaction. And not exactly sure what to expect. So here we go.
How comes also a photographer? I did that
Well,
right. No, just tell me he's coming back.
yeah, he actually filmed with them, so I guess we'll see.
Just what?
He filmed about the Philly NXL. They were gonna come back.
Well, he told me, but to be honest, he's like, got any bodies for sale? I'm like, my bodies are pretty loose and abused, like camera bodies.
Oh yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take, well,
You don't want mine?
so,
You have giant cameras.
huh?
You have like giant cameras too.
No, this is all stuff. Stay in the state and then spell it.
State and then spell.
Yeah.
Go
That's
away.
asking a lot. She can't spell.
Go away.
State, so state and then spell it.
Brittany, Brittany. McNeely, McNealy.
So what are some of the struggles that you kind of face being a spouse of,
That's a long
like
list.
a MS worker, the time that he has to dedicate to the military?
Probably just the amount of time he's here.
Basically, supposed to be.
Probably the amount of time he's just here
That's
and
true.
not home. And we have two kids, and it's just about like the time that he's away. It could be any time of the day. It could be morning, noon, night, it could be middle of the night. So it's not really easy when your spouse has to leave in the middle of something, especially if it's an important day or holiday or something like that. So
And
sorry to hear that.
in terms of like kind of like just like the stress, like the kind of the stuff that he sees on scene and then coming home, how does that kind of affect him in terms of like seeing something traumatic and then trying to come home and still enjoy time with you and his kids?
Honestly, it's almost like near impossible for him to kind of snap out of the crazy scene that he's been in, and it's like hard for him to kind of come home and be calm and relaxed. He's very like high strung, and he's very like the kids be playing, and you know it'll just like throw him into a thing, and he'll just kind of freak out and be like, stop, 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 and like it's just a lot for him personally. But I mean, it's a lot of stress on me because like he's not around as much. So like I mean, I'm obviously we're married and he's here, but like he has another job. So it's either he's at his job or he's here most of the time, dedicating his time, and like I'm pretty much the sole provider for like our kids as far as like emotionally, mentally, physically. So it definitely does take a toll on me as a whole.
And in terms of kind of like you brought up about him having to, leave for events and stuff like that because of all that happens and he just never know like how's that uncertainty kind of that plays into your relationship.
Oh, I worry about him all the time. Absolutely. Like he's on my mind 24/7. I'm worrying about if someone's gonna like give me a shot. I'm worrying about like if citation's gonna like attack him. I'm worrying about all of his buddies and all his brothers and sisters that are in his organization, like making sure that they have his back to protect him as like, my husband, like because I would want that for anyone else. And also like to make sure that my husband and the father of his come home every night.
And then seeing that everything that he does every day, would you ever consider being a part of this industry for because you see it firsthand from him?
I couldn't do it. I couldn't. I think that
Now, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you face because of him like working here and having that uncertainty?
I would just honestly say just the uncertainty, the stress, the mind stress, like the mindfulness of like, is he gonna call me and say someone tried to attack him? Am I gonna get a phone call saying that he was hit by a car on a motor vehicle accident scene because people don't, pay attention all the time at emergency scenes because they see lights and they're just like
That's
get
the truth.
distracted and look. Also, a lot of people like that live around here are they're uncertain. Any kind of thing is uncertain. So it's just, I guess the uncertainty is what makes me so like stressed and anxiety and stuff like that.
Now, especially him like kind of being in command and being having a lot more responsibilities here, kind of how do you feel about him? Like, how do you feel about the squad in general under him, under his lead?
Oh, I think he's a great leader. I think he's very professional. I think he listens to what others have to say. And I truly feel like that my husband personally can act like the boss without being the boss, if that makes sense. Like he can go into his scene and make sure he's the one that's like giving like commands or telling people what to do, but he's not like you're gonna do it my way or the highway kind of person. So he's very like open to suggestions. He doesn't, take things with like heart to heart that people tell him about how things will change or how things are. So I think he's a very good leader. And I mean, I think they all are. I really don't want anything bad to say about any of them. I think they do a great job.
What are some skills and qualities that someone who's married into someone in this field has to kind of take from?
You kind of have to know
You kind of have to be
you have to
crazy.
kind of like prepare. You kind of have to prepare for the worst but hope for the best in any given scenario. Like he could be sitting down for dinner and he could get an unconscious call. Like I know he's going.
And how do you kind of adjust, especially because you have two young kids? How do you adjust them to that lifestyle that he has?
Well, they kind of grew up around it, so they kind of know like, oh, daddy's pager's going off, daddy's got to go to the call. Like, our oldest is very like, all right, bye, dad. And my youngest is like, dad, where are you going? Because he's still only almost 4, so he's like kind of new to it. He's more new to it than our oldest is.
Kind of going back to like being the wife and the spouse standpoint of it, is there any kind of is there anything like any like tips or anything like that you want to share for other like emergency wives or like I know there's like first responder wives out there, you can consider military fire.
I feel like the best advice that I can probably give someone is just be supportive. Like, you love them, you care about them, they obviously love and care about what they're doing. They're not doing anything maliciously to hurt you in the end. Like, that's just who they are, that's who they want to be, and like, you either have to accept it or not accept it. And of course, on my standpoint, my husband knows every day that I accept what he does. I support him 100%, never gonna change. Does it hurt sometimes that he's gonna leave him alone? Yeah, but I've grown up with that. We've been together for quite some time. It's kind of like the normal to me now. So I think the hardest part is when he comes home from the scene and I can tell that it affected him. And then it's like, do I give him a space? Do I talk to him? Do I kind of let him come to me? So like I kind of have to learn how to deal with that as well because you have to figure out what they want in the end. But the best thing also is like support. Find yourself some support. I have quite a few friends that are in EMS that are spouses of, our spouses and also work in EMS. And like I've gone to them a couple of times and they've helped me out with a couple of scenarios and advice. And I just think that like find yourself good friends, find yourself some support, and support your partner as well.
Is there anything like that that you want to kind of leave off with?
I mean, just basically support your partner because they need you and they only have you in the end. He's just an asshole. It's okay though.
Not wrong.
Oh, that's what you wrote in your start.
I figured he's an asshole. I love him though. He's my asshole. I'll fuck you up. I'll fuck you up.
No, we're all there.
Alright, sounds good. Oh, Jesus.
Now you're about
All right, that was a lot to process. So some things she touched on as far as coming home from traumatic scenes. I know I speak for a lot of first responders. That is one of the most difficult things to do is come from absolute chaos back into a quiet, peaceful place. First responders are, it sounds weird, but first responders are wired to thrive in chaos. Um, it's tough to explain it, but when you're in the moment on a chaotic scene, you essentially fall back to your training and you become laser focused. You're running through a checklist of what do I need to do? How do I need to stabilize this patient? How do I treat this patient? What hospital are we going to? You're going through all these bullet points in your head, and it's keeping your mind busy, essentially. So when you're back at home, when it's peaceful, your mind would start to wander. You got to think about a lot of things like what could I have done differently, what could I have changed, and it can be tough to process for some first responders. I know I struggle with it a lot. I have a very short temper. Um, it's it can be very tough to deal with. So I personally was recommended to pursue EMDR therapy, which I started recently, and I think I'm 3 sessions deep into that now. And if you are a first responder struggling with PTSD, I highly recommend looking into EMDR therapy. So the way it works is they incorporate eye movements as you're being questioned, and that helps to kind of reprogram your brain and how you deal with traumatic experiences. I'm only about 3 sessions in, but I do notice a little bit of a difference. I was given some tips to kind of ground myself because they have what's called disassociation, where you're essentially, easiest way to describe it is daydreaming. Um, Again, it's just the thoughts running through your head. You're not actually in the moment. So I was given some exercises to kind of ground yourself. So focusing on your 5 senses, what you see around you, what you smell, what you hear. And I found that that does actually help a little bit to bring you back into the moment. Another thing the therapist recommends is when you're face to face with somebody talking, focus on their mouth and connecting what they're saying with what you're thinking. So it's just exercises to kind of ground you and bring you back to right now, not running through things in your head. So I do have to say I am very proud of my wife for giving her insight into it. I know a lot of first responder spouses have a lot of the same struggles, and we don't make it easy on them. Let's just put it right out there. We don't communicate with them. It's something that we all need to work on as a whole to improve the situation. So, to those first responder spouses out there, thank you. Keep supporting your loved ones. It means the world to us, even if we don't act that way sometimes. Um, there are some tough situations that we have to deal with and we have to get through, but your support is appreciated and much needed. So, thank you to all the first responder spouses out there and military as well. They're going through the same struggles, if not a lot worse than we are. So again, thank you guys, and hang in there.